1980 was this year of political transformation in America. 2 dynasties impacted, but there's another story about a third political dynasty also affected by a visit to Iowa. And that political dynasty is of the Xi family, spelled X-I, the President Xi Jinping on that. And the Xi family's connection to Iowa would be known from the 1985 visit of young Xi Jinping when he came as a 31-year-old party secretary for his first visit anywhere outside of China, but actually has the backstory that in October of 1980, his father, the governor of Guangdong province, and the man who did the very first projects to introduce free market economics to China in 1979, was leading a delegation to Iowa of Chinese governors. So in 1979, Governor Ray had gone to China as part of an American delegation of governors visiting right after U.S.-China diplomatic relations had been established. And I had gone with him. Now, 1980, we in Iowa were receiving the first delegation of Chinese governors coming. And I remember going to the airport on Sunday morning, October 28th, with Governor Ray to greet this delegation. And the governor invited the Chinese governor who was leading the delegation to ride in the car with him. I'm in the front seat, and we are beginning this 2-day visit. And it was, of course, seen as very important, as an opportunity to perhaps develop some economic relations. And I would be playing a role in escorting the governor from Guangdong, whose name was Xi Zhongxun. Now, of course, at the time, we didn't know he was the father of a young man in his 20s who would later be president of China. But we wanted him to have a very special visit and an opportunity, and so we took him around the state. We took him to Iowa State, we took him to John Deere, we took him to Pioneer, went over to Cedar Rapids to visit manufacturing plants, we visited a farm, and on the way back, we stopped at the Amana Colonies for an early dinner. We wanted to show off what we considered to be kind of a tourist attraction. Wanted to get them back to Des Moines so they could watch the presidential debate on TV between President Carter and Governor Ronald Reagan. So we're at Amana Colonies, we're having dinner, we're sitting collectively in the restaurant and the food's being brought out. And Governor Xi Zhongxun and the other Chinese governors are being told about the history of Amana, how it was a communist society, just like their agriculture in China was organized at that time. Everything was owned by the commune. No one had individual farms. All of the crops were owned by the commune. They were all sold. The money was used to buy food, other things needed. People ate together. There was no individualism until the 1930s, when the community, the Amana community, decided to divide up the land into family farms, but they kept the political, social, and cultural structure intact. And I remember to this day Governor Xi asking question after question after question after question. And I was trying to understand, well, why are they so interested? Must be they're fascinated with American communism. But in fact, back in China, there was a great debate going on. Could China introduce free market economics into agriculture, as they were doing in other aspects of their economy? And that's why Governor Xi Zhongxun was asking so many questions, because Amana showed that what was possible was to change the economic structure but keep the cultural and political aspects the same. It was a powerful lesson. I don't know exactly what he thought about, but what he did, because he was a close collaborator and advisor to Deng Xiaoping, was they went back and they changed Chinese agriculture so it looked like the Amana Colonies. And 13 years later, the Minister of Agriculture of China landed at the airport in Des Moines to come and receive the World Food Prize for the dramatic impact of China's policy reformation, which had produced so much food that China was on the way of going from 70 or 80% of its people living in poverty towards almost zero 40 years later. They were well on the way. That visit that I escorted the father of President Xi Jinping, which led to those dramatic changes and created the prosperity, the Xi family's involvement in the prosperity of China, which seems directly linked to his son becoming the president of China in 2012 and continuing in that position and being acclaimed one of the three most significant political leaders of the Chinese Communist Society. It's a remarkable piece of Iowa history, and I was so privileged to witness the Kennedy dynasty, the Bush dynasty, and the Xi dynasty all being impacted by Iowa in 1980.